Let's go now for more analysis with Professor Tarik Oguzlu, who's from Istanbul Aydin University. He joins us here in the studio. Good to have you with us, Professor. Firstly, a very happy Republic Day to you. Can I start by asking you just about the significant milestones in the past 100 years? I know it is a very long period, but Türkiye as a nation, as a republic, has really seen a lot of ups and downs, but through all of the challenges that it's encountered, it's managed to emerge as a stronger, more united republic, hasn't it?
Actually, since the early 1920s up to now, many important developments have taken place in Turkish domestic and foreign policy. So there are many important milestones we have to underline. For example, the establishment of the republic itself is a very important achievement. But we all know that Atatürk and his friends had set into motion a very detailed, radical transformation process at home, somehow trying to bring Turkey to a much higher civilizational level in one way or another, in the image of the then most appropriate norms and values. But we also know that Turkey had joined NATO as a foreign policy achievement. Turkey had become a member, had wanted to become a member of the European Union. A kind of westernization, Europeanization process has been underway in the context of Turkish foreign policy. And many important reforms and revolutions have already been adopted at home. Throughout this period, the literacy rate in Turkey has increased to a significant extent. Turkey has become one of the richest countries in global politics, as we all know that Turkey is a member of G20. And Turkey had also taken part in many other international organizations. We are not only talking about NATO, UN, or some European institutions, but also Organization of Islamic Conference. And in recent years, Turkey had also set into motion a kind of multidimensional and multidirectional foreign policy orientation, very much in line with the changing dynamics of international politics. So if you look to Turkey's foreign policy, in particular from an historical perspective, you can easily say that the kind of international environment we used to have in the past had a very important role how Turkish decision makers approach Turkish foreign policy. Once we had a kind of unipolar international environment under the leadership of the Western international actors, Turkey had pursued a pro-European, pro-Western, pro-American foreign policy orientation. But when we had a multipolar international environment similar to the one we have seen since 2008, this multidimensionality, multidirectionality have become much more pronounced, and the idea of strategic autonomy has very much put at the center of Turkish foreign policy undertakings in recent years. But besides such kind of foreign policy issues, we had also noticed that Turkey has become a liberal democracy at home in one way or another, despite all kind of shortcomings throughout this journey. I mean, we had experienced some military coup in the past, we all know that. But despite such kind of shortcomings, Turkey has been on the track of becoming a mature liberal democratic country as well.
Yes, it's easy to forget in the global scheme of things how young Türkiye is as a republic, 100 years old. When you look at a country like the United States, it's just shy of 250 years. So a big difference there. So for such a young country, what do you expect in the future? We heard the Turkish President Erdogan look towards what he's described as the next Turkish century. What can we expect over the next 100 years?
Yes, you are right. Turkey is a very young country, but we should also make it very clear that Turkey is, in one way or another, the continuation of the former Ottoman Empire, in one way or another. So we have a kind of historical responsibility on our shoulders. So we have to make sure that these positive aspects of Ottoman legacy should be kept intact, in one way or another. And President Erdogan has in the past many times underlined the fact that Turkey should become one of the richest 10 countries in global politics. Maybe in the next decades, this is the kind of achievement we aspire to have. Other than that, Turkey has been trying to become a very influential country in the former territories of the Ottoman Empire, most of the time from a cultural, economic, and historical perspective, somehow believing that we have the historical responsibility to contribute to the emergence of stability and cooperation in this particular neighborhood. So if that's the case, we are not in a position to say that there is an historical break between the Turkish Republic on the one hand and the former Ottoman Empire on the other hand. But this doesn't mean that Turkey is not a status quo country in terms of respecting territorial boundaries. We are a status quo country in terms of preserving our territorial existence, but in terms of having a much more economic, cultural, and social imprint in the former territories of the Ottoman Empire, Turkey is aspiring more than what we have achieved so far.
You mentioned among some of the challenges in the past where there's several coups that the country has experienced. There was an attempted coup in 2016, as we know, but in the last 20 years or so, we have seen a relative stability, haven't we, where the rule of law was respected, the Turkish election results were respected as well. This year we had 2 rounds of national elections, but it wasn't always the case, was it?
Yeah, during the Cold War years, stability and security considerations used to have a much more sway in Turkish politics. But over the last 20 years, since the coming into power of Justice and Development Party, we have to make it very sure that we have to underline that civilizational process, liberal democratization process have taken an upward turn. We have to admit it. We should also say that Turkish people are quite keen on preserving these privileges of living in a liberal democratic country. That's why turnout in Turkish elections are quite high. As you have just pointed out, over the last 10 years, we had gone to ballot box many times, and the number of Turkish people who went to ballot boxes are quite high. This shows that we are very much determined to preserve this achievement. But we should also make it very clear that this is not something unique to last 20 years. Since the early 1950s up to now, this democratization process is underway.
Okay, Professor Tarik Oguzlu, we will have to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us. And that